Good evening and welcome to the Cabarrus County Board of Education's Monday night, March the 1st, 2021 work session. The meeting has been called to order. The board has just come out of closed session and returned to open session, and I would ask now that we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Board members, we will start with setting the agenda at 5.01. May I have a motion that the work session agenda be approved as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Blackwell and a second by Mr. Walter. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Aye. Thank you. And now I will turn it over to 6.01 for the report on the quarterly forecast by Acting Superintendent Brian Schultz.
Okay, thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. We just take a look at as typical, take a look at the next 3 months in terms of forecasting what will be on the agenda for the Board of Education. That document is available online as well as it is here in person. All 3 months, we'll be taking a look at the budget amendments as needed. In April, we'll adopt the proposed budgets. The budget committee's been working hard at work on that. We'll have policy to bring to you in April, as that agenda has been set for the policy committee meeting in March, actually March 16th. We'll discuss and celebrate our Teacher of the Year. We'll discuss our teacher fair, which will be taking place the third week of April. We'll have a middle school realignment recommendation coming to the board. FF&E selection, typically that encompasses furniture and other items, and that's for Roberta Road Middle School. And then we'll be discussing potential property negotiation that evening as well. And then we'll also look at mowing contracts for Cabarrus County Schools. And then in May, we'll have some construction updates, so you'll be able to see the progress that's been made on Roberta Road Middle School. We'll have, again, policy will be coming to you, instructional resource contracts, the RCCC Memorandum of Agreement for our 2 early colleges, our school system fees, our school nutrition, food pricing. We'll discuss and celebrate our teacher leader cohort. And then we'll be discussing the R. Brown McAllister architecture recommendations and selections for that exciting time that we'll be building a new school for R. Brown McAllister. And then lastly, in June, the continuing budget resolution, construction updates, policy. We'll be discussing the Apple and Dell computer leases, legal services contract, our Title I plan for the following school year, instructional resource contracts again, and then we'll approve that R. Brown McAllister architecture in that meeting. So that concludes my report on the quarterly forecast.
Okay, thank you. Board members, any questions or comments for Mr. Schultz?
Setting our board calendar for next year, that should be probably added there as well.
Yeah, the board calendar, we brought that in the fall, and that's been approved. And I think what we're actually, Ms. Burns and myself discussed that today. That is, if there's any action in the legislature in terms of the calendar impacting next year. I know there's several requests from districts across the state for calendar flexibility. So if there's any sort of action on that, we'll need to make some adjustments to the calendar for next school year. And then we've already started planning a timeline for the 22-23 school year, which is hard to believe I'm saying that. But that won't be, that 22-23 won't be before the end of this school year.
That's student calendar, and I appreciate that. The board meeting for our board meetings for next year, setting that. And the second question I had would be, do we have athletic trainers at West Cabarrus High School?
Yes.
Okay, I think there's an athletic training agreement that might need to be modified to include that school.
Yeah, I believe that we added that in the last one, but I'll double check that and get back to the board on that.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Ms. Carpenter?
Yes, I had one. On the legal services contract now, are we going to do a review, or will all that be done in June, or is that when we're going to be doing that for legal services? Is all that in that June time period?
Actually, so what we'll need is a copy of the contract. If you can get that for us, then we can take a look at it for a time span. How about that?
Oh, okay.
Let's go that
okay.
route. I think that'll make it easier for all the board members, especially the new ones. Okay?
Because one time, that's what we did. We kind of did a review, we
Right.
did that, and
We'll
then
follow-
decided what
right.
we wanted to do at that time.
Let's just go ahead and get the copies of the contracts, and we'll take a
Okay,
look at it.
Okay.
Does that sound good, Mr. Schultz? Okay, great. Okay, anything else, board members? Okay, moving to item number 6.02 is committee reports by board members, and I'm going to turn this over to board member Ms. Adcock.
Thank you, Chair Grimsley. I wanted to just come before the board and talk about our BOE intern. Finley Edwards is in that position right now, and we've been collaborating together, talking about some ways in which she can be a voice for the students within the system, and we've come up with a few things we wanted to talk about and share with the board. The first one is that we wanted to collaborate and coordinate 2 high school students from each high school to take part in a quarterly meeting that would be held between me, the chair, and the vice chair, and Mr. Schultz on a predetermined topic and question to ask, and then whatever those question and answers would be reported back to the student body within the high schools. Also participate with the Educational Foundation to help with funding projects. They have a desperate need for people that were already in the system, and we feel like that'll be a good collaboration. Already had a meeting with Amy Gove about this and introduced this idea. She had very positive remarks about it, and we're meeting again on Thursday to discuss with Finley, exactly what we can do to help the foundation. The other thing is to be involved in the policy committee and just meet with them in a virtual or in person, whichever it's meeting with, and the C&I committee as well. And these would just give her more of a round information about what goes on within the system. And then just be able to meet with the BOE meetings in the Education Center, which she's actually here tonight doing that, and then be the voice of the students. So some questions that I had for Mr. Schultz is just, what would be the best avenue for us to start that high school student selection if the board approves this? Would it be through the principals? And then are there any current platforms in the high school that students use to disseminate information across the system that we could possibly use?
Sure, I can, I'll address the first one. There is a superintendent's advisory committee that has students on it. In fact, I met with them last Friday, and we actually combined it it was middle school and high school. A lot of times most times it's separate. Middle school and high school are separate. So there are some existing students that if we want, we could collaborate with those students. I'll have to get the list from Ms. Hammonds, who has that list, to see how many from each high school we have.
Okay.
Okay, board members, I'll open it up for questions or comments for Ms. Adcock. And Mr. Furr, I'll start with you.
No, I have no questions, but I think it's a very good idea and something that would be benefit to everyone.
Ms. Carpenter, you've done this with an intern. You probably have more to say.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I know that you serve on the CI committee, and I do too, and I know when I had the intern that I had, like when I went to the committee, like when I would go to one of my meetings, that intern would meet me there, and they would sit in on the committee when I was at that committee. Like I was on policy or I was on budget, and he would go to the budget committee with me and would sit there with me during those meetings. And it was he learned quite a bit at those committees. And that's what they do. They just sit in on those committee meetings. And they really got a lot, I know Hunter got a lot out of those committee meetings and would sit in on. And he sit down on all our budget committee meetings at that time. And that's what, and basically, of course, he would always check with his principal, and he always made up his work that he missed, and he would let the principal know that he was going to be at those meetings, and would always make up his work that he missed and everything. But it was very helpful for the student to learn what each of these committees did and the workings of the school system.
Thank you. Mr. Walter?
Yeah, I thought the agreement already allowed her to participate in meetings if possible. Is she going to be able to come back to our board meetings now that we have a 25-person limit?
Yes, and she was
Okay.
told that tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think she has a lot of valuable perspective to bring to the board, so I'm excited about it.
Great. Ms. Blackwell?
So I'll just say same. I'm really excited to have a student voice, and then maybe now even more multiple student voices that are going to be out there. So absolutely, Finley's great, and I know she's going to be a great asset to us. So thank you.
Ms. Sandage, can you hear us?
I can. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. We'll see you when you get here. Okay, well, it sounds like that's good. If you want to get with me and maybe Mr. Schultz, and we can start a little bit more of that process.
Sounds good, and I just wanted to make sure too, if you see any challenges, Mr. Schultz, or any kind of issues with anything that's we addressed, just if you'll address those too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The policy committee one, I don't know if, I'll probably defer to Mr. Shawla to see if he sees any concerns with that. I don't know that I have any concerns with that, but I would defer to you on the policy committee one. So if the student intern could serve as part of the policy committee.
And Brian, you don't have to answer tonight. If you need to think about that or look into policy, whatever you need to do, we don't have to answer that tonight unless you can.
What I would like to do probably is to look into that, but also we have a policy meeting coming up, and I think I'd like to get input from the policy committee members as to whether that would affect anything or not. And I just don't want to speak for them.
No, that sounds great. Maybe we can get an answer for that for next Monday, for the business meeting. Okay. And thank you, Ms. Adcock, for doing this. We appreciate it. We know she's got a great mentor, and I know Finley's going to enjoy that piece of it. So thank you for doing it. Okay. So next, board members, we're going to move to 6.03 for the budget update, and we'll have Ms. Kelly Klutz.
All right, good evening, board. I'm going to take a minute to get comfortable because I'm going to be here for just a little bit with you. We have a lot of budget to talk about today. So today is the first budget session for the board, and Larry is going to pull it up for me, and then I'm going to control it here. So I think we're about ready to go. Okay. So as I said, today is our first budget meeting with the board. So we're going to review these things. We're going to review the budget process. We're going to look at the CIP and the 10-year plan associated with that. We are going to review capital outlay for our facilities department, and then we're going to do capital outlay for non-facilities today. On Monday, March 22nd, that's a special called meeting, and we just generally talk about budget. And so on that day, we're going to talk about operational expansion, which will include technology, facilities, and general education. And then we'll also talk that day about continuation expenses and objectives review. Okay. On Monday, April the 12th is when there will be a public hearing for the public to ask questions or make comments on the budget presentation. And then we will have discussion with the board at that time. And then finally, on April 19th is when we would expect to adopt the budget. And so that would be the proposal that will be submitted to the Board of Commissioners at that time. Okay. This is just kind of a general statement about a budget committee. It's used often in community colleges and various groups. It's a collection of individuals that come together to serve and to make a budget better. The budget committee will make changes and adjustments to align with our strategic goals and our plan. And if you look at the bottom, there's a link to our strategic plan, and you can certainly link on that and identify all of our strategic goals. So again, the goal of a budget is to align with our strategic plan. Okay, this is just a snapshot of your budget committee members. These folks have come together 4 to 5 times already and have sacrificed a lot of time with us, and we've shared our knowledge and they've shared theirs. So just take a look at the folks that are serving on the committee, and just so that you know, attendance has been great. With the virtual environment, it was a little bit concerned that we might not have as great of attendance, but I think for the most part, we've had full attendance just about in every meeting, so that's been a positive for sure. Okay. This document is just to show you where you can access a lot of detailed information. We put everything on our website that we go over in our budget committee, and so you can access this and the public can access this. That link up the top will take you directly there, but here you can see down below every budget meeting has a link out, and then you can find all of the documents that we reviewed in those budget meetings. Okay. And so just to talk a little bit about our budget development and process, you'll see that we start with the foundation. The foundation is our schools and our advisory teams. Every school has a school improvement team that participates. That includes parents and teachers and staff. Then after it goes to that level, it goes up to budget subcommittees and administrative teams. And then after that, it then goes up to the cabinet, and then it goes to the budget committee. And then that's where we are today. We're at the budget committee level, and we are, the budget committee will then submit a recommendation to the superintendent, and then the superintendent makes a recommendation to you, and then you adopt your proposed budget. So starting at the foundation of the schools, and our ideas and requests go up to you guys. Okay. The decision-making and prioritization tool that we use is called Trigo, or Trigo for short. And so now we're going to talk specifically about capital outlay. Today's meeting focuses around capital outlay. There's a lot of numbers here, and they're really big numbers. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through what's on this chart. It's a summary. So the capital projects non-FMD. So over in the middle of that document, the request is $1,034,000. We're going to show you that in detail here in a minute. The next line are capital projects, FMD. Again, Facilities Maintenance Department is what FMD stands for. And if you look at our request over 5 years, then that's $106 million. If you look at the identified needs for just this current year, that's $68 million. And then if you look at the top 36, and I'll explain that a little bit further as we go, you're looking at a request for $5 million, just different stages of the same projects. The next line is our capital improvement projects. These are items that are greater than $500,000, and we have a list of about $239 million there. And then finally, our capital improvement projects, that it includes our 10-year plan, and that looks like $291 million. Okay. Again, I put the link at the bottom that will give you the detail of each of these items if you want to see any of the details. Okay. And the 10-year plan, you're familiar with it. We discussed it last month, which was February, here at the board meeting. And you did not make any modifications, and so this is where we are with our 10-year plan. Okay. And now we're into our capital improvement projects that are greater than $500,000. Okay. We're going to start big. So at the top of the document, you can see the first year, the year requested. Over to the left, it says fiscal year 22. That's the first year that we've requested this particular item. Security cameras actually is a reoccurring item. We requested every single year, so that's why you're seeing it as a fiscal year 22. Security cameras are integral to our business. We rely on them every day, and to be able to keep those in working order, we need about that much every year to be able to keep our cameras so that they're working. So there's that request, and then as we go into the next one, that is the current year expense that we need associated with the new high school in the Northwest Cabarrus area. So that's the architect, the engineering, and the admin fees, and we have to have that in advance of construction. Next is R. Brown McAllister Elementary School replacement, and so that is the construction cost associated with that, and that's the $34 million. Okay, those are all on those two are on the 10-year plan. Anything after that, you can see that fiscal year 19 is the first time that it was requested on this list, and you can see the school associated with it. Each one of these projects are linked out to a justification document. So if you're looking here and if you have a question about Central Cabarrus's roof replacement, you can link out and it'll give you a 2-page document of detail about that roof replacement. Okay. Okay. This is the second page of that document, and so so we requested in fiscal year 19, and these weren't funded, and now we're at fiscal year 20, and these weren't able to be funded, and so now we're adding the new ones to the bottom of the list, fiscal year 21, and all of their requests associated with this year. You can start seeing the deferred maintenance concept here. Okay. Again, 21 and 22. And then a big red note at the bottom, all projects for Northwest Cabarrus High School were reprioritized due to the pending construction of a replacement school scheduled to open in August 2026. So it doesn't make sense to replace an HVAC system or a roof if you're going to replace the school. Certainly if something fails, we will be in a position that we'll have to do something, but we're not going to invest a lot of money if we're going to replace the school. So over to the right, you can see the total of that list was $239 million, and then you can see year by year how much was deferred, and then you have your total that agrees back to the $239 million. Okay, what questions do you have on that list?
Board members, any comments or questions? Hearing none.
All right. So now that we did 500,000 or more, we're going to do 25,000 to 500,000. So this is kind of the list that's in the middle. I think financially, this is the one that we've struggled with the most. So the county's done a really good job of helping us with the projects greater than $500,000. A lot of those are associated with debt, and you can take care of those. They've done a really good job of less than $25,000. So those can be handled with cash. If there's excess cash every once in a while, you can handle those. This segment in the middle, we've been struggling with for several years, so we're hoping that we can make some traction here this year. So I'm going to close your eyes 1 minute. I'm going to flip through this real quick and see if I can find a different slide. Nope, that's not the one I wanted. Larry, can you click on that link for me? No? Okay. That's all right. That's all right. Thank you. I've lost it now. I can't click it with this.
He's on the web page, but it's not showing Larry on the screen.
Oh, it's not showing me, huh? Ooh. Okay, scroll up, please. Yeah, up there. To the top. And hit the 218, the one in the middle, the Budget Committee meeting 218. Yes, please. And can I have it now? Okay. Close your eyes real quick, so it doesn't hurt your eyes. Aha, here it is. This is what I wanted to show you. So in this category is a really large category. There's a lot of projects in the category. So this is kind of a summary sheet of where we stand with these projects. And so there's $106 million that we're requesting from the county, and what we've done is divided up the projects into what we call disciplines. And so you can see that at the top in the green, the first one being ADA and code and life safety structural, all the way over, to roofing and kind of fire surveillance systems. The reason that we had to do that is because there's more projects than anyone can do. There's more projects than the county can reasonably afford. And even if the county was able to give us $106 million, then we don't have enough staff to be able to manage that. And so we had to figure out a way to present it in that if we got the money, how many projects could we reasonably do? And we decided that it was 3 in each discipline. So we could do 36 projects because we have 12 disciplines, and then that way, if the county had the money, then the staff could do the jobs in 1 year. So that's why they're broken up like this. Again, the same concept with the deferred maintenance. You can see there that we've had 3 years of deferred before that we get to the current year of 2021 for a total of $68 million in this year. And then you can see next year, 2022-23, there's $20 million, and therefore it continues on to your 5-year request because the county has asked for a 5-year request. And so we're at $106 million, and that means that 630 projects that we really need funding for at this point. Okay. Okay, let's get back to the other one. Okay. All right, thank you. Okay. Okay. So out of those 36, the budget committee prioritized and ran Trigo on 36 projects. And these are the projects and the way that they were ranked according to the Trigo process. And again, if you hit the link, you can go out to a justification document and it'll tell you a lot about the project that you want to know. And then over to the right, of course, is the cost associated. And then in the blue shaded area is the discipline that we just talked about. So you should see about 3 projects per discipline. Okay, and so the first page is 1 through 18. The second page is 19 through 36 for a total of $5.1 million. And we'll see if there are any questions about this list. We do have Chuck Taylor on the line that he can help answer.
Board members, comments or questions? Hearing none.
Okay. Now we'll go into the final category for today is non-FMD capital outlay. And so in non-FMD, we're not talking about facilities and buildings anymore. We're talking about other needs of the district that are capital outlay. Okay. And so these are the items that were submitted. Generally in this category, the county usually funds about $1,020,000. That's, been going that way for over a decade now, and so it's reasonable to expect that we will probably get about that amount of money. So these are the requests. Our total was $1,034,000. This is the way that these were presented, and sorry, lost my train of thought. So I'll ask if there are any questions on these particular projects.
Board members, comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Adcock?
For the one that's for the activity buses, what do we do with the old buses? Are these replacements or are these actually just going to add to what we already have?
Yes, these are actually replacements. There was a time, probably starting in 2008 when the economy failed, and 2008 through 2012, where we stopped buying any type of equipment, furniture and equipment. And then we never were able to set that back in motion. So our activity buses have gone for a very long time without us replacing any. So we've tried to start a replacement cycle, and we need about 2 every year to be able to keep current. So these are replacement, and the ones that we have would just be sold at surplus, but there's very little value associated with them by the time we're done with them.
Thank you.
I actually have a question too, sorry. Would it be possible, this just popped into my head, but with all of the mobile Wi-Fi that we've been doing would it be possible to use the activity buses to do that for virtual?
So we've stopped doing, and Dane's probably around here somewhere, we've stopped doing the mobile Wi-Fi because we've actually just given hotspots to students that need it. That ends up being better a cost savings, right? So it's expensive to have a driver out there on the bus, so it's just easier for the student and costs less for the district to give them a hotspot.
Anyone else? Okay.
Okay, and I'm just going to hit this really quickly because we're going to go over it at one of our later budget meetings with you guys. But just kind of a reminder of our objectives. And so when we do TRIGO, we measure and prioritize against these objectives. These objectives have stayed very similar over the past, actually since we adopted them, probably more than 10 years ago. They're small tweaks, but generally the same. These are the objectives that we measure against. And part of this process at the end is the board will look at these objectives and decide if you want to continue next year with these objectives or if you want to tweak or adjust them at all. So I just want to put them in front of you and let you start thinking about that because you may want to adjust them. Okay, and we have definitions, so just examples and definitions of what each objective means. Okay, and then our next meeting where we're going to talk about budget, as I've already mentioned, is on March the 22nd, and we're going to talk about kind of the core of our operations, the operational expansion for general education. We're going to talk about technology, and we're going to talk about a little bit of the facilities operations. Continuation, and then we will, as I mentioned, do the objectives review and start that discussion if you want to change anything. Okay, and that's all I had for you.
Okay, and I'm going to ask Ms. Carpenter if you have any comments or questions since you actually serve as the Budget Committee liaison. Any comments or questions from you?
Not at this time. We've been.
Will you key up, please?
Very well.
Carolyn.
In budget.
Carolyn, click key up.
I'm sorry. No, it's gone very well. As Kelly said, we've gone along very well in budget. This first year we've done virtually, and I think it's gone very well. And so at this time, I don't have any questions, but thank you very much.
Okay, great. And Ms. Sandage, are you still with us?
I am.
Any comments or questions since you sit on the Budget Committee as well?
I don't have any comments or questions.
Okay,
I've been
great.
a part of the process.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
I'm still working trying to get those vestibules, though. That's the only thing I can say. Still working trying to get them. We still have 3 of them out there that I really, really want.
We knew you were just being too quiet about that. Thank you. Okay. Ms. Klutz, thank you very much. We appreciate the presentation. And board members, make sure you do have March 22nd. I know that's an extra date in the month of March for us, but make sure you have that on your calendars. And with that, we will move to items under number 7.01. This is the COVID-19 update by the board chair, but I'm going to defer my comments to Acting Superintendent Brian Schultz and move to 7.02 and turn the discussion over to him.
Thank you very much. So I do want to take a point of privilege and just thank Ms. Klutz for this process. It's switching it to virtual was a little, I'm sure a little nerve-wracking for her but it's turned out really, really well, as Ms. Carpenter said. And, I had the privilege of kind of seeing this process start, gosh, was it 10 years ago, Kelly, 12 years ago, in its infancy stage, and to how it's developed into the processes and tools now is just phenomenal. And having some insight in some other districts, there is no other district that does it this well and prioritizes this well. So it's just a point that we should be proud about you should be proud of as a board and as a staff. Kelly should be really proud in her leadership with that. So I also like to just thank the board. It's very humbling and very honoring to fill the gap, to serve as the acting superintendent for the district. So I just thank you so much for your trust and willingness to have faith in me to lead us during this transition time. Ms. Sandage, I can't see you to look at you, but thank you for your trust in me. And I also want to thank Dr. Louder for his nearly 3 decades of service to Cabarrus County Schools. That says a lot about his dedication to the students here, the staff here, and the community here for his service. So thank you, Dr. Louder, and definitely be careful out there. And also just I'll say thank you, Vicki, Genevieve, and Allie. And with that, let's talk about COVID. Larry, if you'll move to the next slide. Oh, one too many. You go back one, Larry. Yeah, just back arrow one will do it. Should do it. Oh, that's. There you go. Probably just click on back onto that graph there, Larry, and then hit if you can. It's doing some strange things. And if we need to, I can talk through it, Larry, if need be. Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll just talk through it. I've got the numbers in front of me. So while I'm talking, if you want to continue to try to pull it up, feel free. So under just looking at the chart you briefly saw up there was the chart that the COVID task force created, the metrics that we're using. And so what we see is a trend, obviously, in a really, really positive direction in terms of the numbers lowering. We've 6 of the 10 metrics have moved into either the moderate or the containment phase. The 3 that are in moderate are the percent positivity, which is at 7.1, and the hospitalization. So we have 45 hospitalizations, and if you remember just a few short weeks ago, we were at like almost 200, it seemed like. And then the weekly cases in the age group of 5 to 17, that is down to 60 for the last reporting week. So that was really low as well. And then also, we have no evidence of transmission within school in this past week. We also have no schools that we've had to move to Plan C due to any outbreaks or clusters. And then we also have moved the level of concern for staffing of essential staff due to absence rates to low as well. So yeah, go forward one there. That's good right there. Go ahead and go back to that one. Yeah, and then what you see in the tipping point still, we're still monitoring those cases. The cases are still relatively high, but you kind of see those numbers in red, and they're actually moving closer and closer to where that that borderline is to go into moderate. So we hope to keep moving towards that. The last 4 weeks as I've monitored this, those numbers go lower and lower. So it's a very positive sign. And Larry, if you can go to the next slide, please. And I did want to really accentuate the level of concern for staffing of essential staff. And flip to the next slide, please, Larry. What you'll take a look there at the active quarantines over time, you'll see as of today, we're actually able to get these numbers to you today. And it's as of today, 68 quarantine staff, 135 quarantined students. So quarantine, remember, is both close contacts and positive combined. And so you can see very easily that we're at the lowest total that we've had since we started tracking this back in December. So we're really, really thrilled about that. That means we have good coverage in the schools and we have students attending, and so we're really excited about those marks as of right now. All right, thank you. And then the last hot topic has been Senate Bill 37, so just report on the status of that. So Friday afternoon, that bill was vetoed by the governor. The bill, Senate Bill 37, would actually require all districts to have an in-person option. And those options included either Plan A or Plan B for K through 12. So it required that. And then the other thing it required was that EC students and 504 students have an option for 4 days a week, K-12. So the good news is we actually meet every letter of that proposed bill and actually exceeded it, because we brought back more students 4 days a week than just the 2 they recommended. It was vetoed Friday, as I said, so when a bill gets vetoed, there are options. There is a potential veto override that could happen if there are enough votes to do that. And then if there are not enough votes to do that, then obviously there's the try again method that can go back to the bill could find out what the faults were with the veto initially, go back and make some changes, and then try it again to pass that. So I know that's been a hot topic, so I just wanted to put that in the room and address that. As of right now, what I knew up until the board meeting started, there was no action today on that. So with that, any questions about the data or Senate Bill 37?
Board members, comments or questions? I'll start with Ms. Adcock.
No.
Mr. Furr? No. Ms. Carpenter? Mr. Walter?
Teachers being vaccinated, where are we at with that?
Yeah, so I was on a call this morning with the Health Alliance and the leaders, the municipality and local government leaders with the Cabarrus Health Alliance, and so there's a report that's going to be coming out on that, very soon, I think within the next 24 to 48 hours, that will give us the status of the vaccination especially for teachers. When it comes out specific to teachers, it will be all the teachers in the county. It won't be broken out by KCS and CCS and charter. It will be a teacher number as a whole. So as soon as that comes out, I'll make sure that I send that along to the board. But the county is doing really, really well, getting all the vaccines distributed that are allotted to them. And again, just great partnerships with Atrium Health and Novana, and with the Cabarrus Health Alliance has been just super. And then we've had other entities as well that have sent us their sign-up links, the pharmacies and different vendors all across this county and in other counties. So people have really stepped up to the plate to make sure that our teachers have access to those sign-ups.
That is great. Ms. Blackwell?
So I think actually tonight at 7, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're voting on that bill again to override the veto. So we might actually have an answer on that here pretty shortly.
Ms. Sandage? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Ms. Sandage?
Well, I've asked my question already. I wanted to know how we were doing with teachers being vaccinated, so that was the only question I had. Thanks for the presentation.
All right, great, thank you. Yes, I had heard that as well, so we may definitely get some different information on that. Anything else? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to items under number 8, which will start with our budget amendments, and we'll have Ms. Kelly Klutz with us.
Okay. Got just a couple of budget amendments for you today. We'll start with the state, if you will, please, Larry. These are just normal budget amendments, reimbursement for substitute, and just an additional $9,000 for our behavioral support program. Okay. Any questions on state?
Board members, comments or questions? Hearing none.
Okay, the next one is local. Local, we will probably need to spend a little bit of time here. So as you can see, that first budget amendment is a significant number. That's about $800,000. And so that is the number that I project that we will need to be able to keep our Kids Plus program operating until June 30th. I've pulled the numbers for you so that I could share with you. Program to date since March. So last year, I had to give them $300,000 to pull them through the fiscal year. So far, we've given them $1.2 million, and then this is another $800,000. So we will be at a total of 2.3 at the end of June 30th. And we need to do a budget amendment. I projected as well as I could or knew, but obviously nobody knew how long this was going to be. Still don't know how long we're going to be to normal operations. The revenues are coming back in now. We are doing a little better, of course, but I know that the $800,000 will be enough to get us through June 30th. I won't have to come back to you. We do not transfer those funds until they need them, until the payroll runs and they don't have the cash to make that payroll. But we will, try to budget those and be ready for when that happens. So is there any questions specifically about that I can address?
Board members? Hearing none.
Okay. So just one point of thing I just wanted to mention is this assumes that this is what you want me to do. You want me to, take care of the program and keep the program going. So we're about to make some decisions for summer, and we just wanted to make sure that the board wants us to continue in the same pattern that we've been operating in. And I'll ask the board chair and our legal attorney if a nod of the head is okay, that you give me that direction, or if you think that you need a vote, obviously we can do that too.
So Kelly, say that one more time. I know you said you had to transfer monies prior to. What is the normal, revenue that would come in a normal time frame?
Okay, I'm not sure I understand completely, but let me try. So this is the parents, so when the parents are paying for before and after school daycare,
right.
We get that's the revenue that offsets the expenses. So we don't have the revenue, as much revenue certainly since March, because we didn't operate a full-time program, but we still had all the expenses because we tried to retain all of the staff, right? So we weren't going to riff any of our staff. And so now we are doing better with the revenues, but we're not 100% as to what we would have done before. Enrollment changes and the days and the way that just different than what we're used to, right? So the question is, we were assuming that we want to continue this program the same way that we've always continued the program, but I didn't want to make any assumption that the board was not in agreement with.
Okay. And as far as attendance, where are we at as far as, are we back to full attendance, waiting list in place, or are we still have capacity? Where are we at as far as numbers?
Can I get back with you on that?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes, anything for the, and we, actually, I think it'd probably be better if we email you questions if we
Okay.
have. I know I saw one come through today, so maybe we can just do that, and then I'll send it to you directly, and then you can copy all the board.
Okay.
Is that good? And
That
we can
sounds
discuss.
great.
So I'm assuming we are not going to put this on consent agenda. We need to put this on for action next week. Board members, is that good? Okay. Ms. Carpenter, did you have something?
Well, yeah. Well, my question was basically the same type thing, how our enrollment was doing. If we offered anything at all during the summer, or did we not do anything during the summer, those type things. Also, kind of on the same thing, I know this is an enterprise fund. Also, our nutrition programs, and I don't see anything on that. are we going to be in the same situation with our nutrition fund? Are we going to have something like this with that? So same type question, are we going to see that type of thing with our, nutrition?
Sure, so good question. So we are planning to run a summer program at full capacity, I'm assuming. But we don't want to make any hiring decisions without the board giving us the nod that that's what you want. And so that's kind of what this discussion is about today, to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as moving forward in the summer, because we need to start making those hiring decisions. So that's our Kids Plus program. Our Kids Plus program did not have as large of a fund balance to pull from as our child nutrition program. Also our child nutrition program has had more subsidy than there's no supplemental funds for Kids Plus program that came through. There have been supplemental funds for our child nutrition program. So lots of different things that's helped that program, and the fact that their fund balance was higher. So we haven't depleted the child nutrition fund balance yet. So we will be operating in a loss situation, but we have cash and we have fund balance to take care of that. Kids Plus is just a little bit different. We're in a loss situation and we have depleted our fund balance there.
So Kelly,
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm assuming you're talking about extra COVID dollars?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other programs that you see that will have shortfalls that would be due to decreased enrollment? Any other areas that you think we might have issues?
No, it's just really our enterprise funds that we're struggling. And so just keep in mind that I have collected indirect cost and revenue from these programs for 2 decades that I've been here, and that was collected even prior to. And so, it's not unheard of that the district would help these programs. I mean, it's my expectation that you would, and that we should, right, to keep all of our employees employed and to be able to provide that service in a normal environment, right? We want to keep our employees and excuse me, and be able to rehire and build our staff with that.
And provide services to the parents as well, right? Okay, so board members, will you just email me any questions or any other thoughts you might have? Mr. Walter?
When did we approve the 1.2 million?
That was in the original budget resolution.
So back at what date was that?
I'm sorry,
What date was that?
the original, whatever, I'd have to go look at that, but it's when you adopted the budget.
So you anticipated a loss and you asked us to add up $1.2 million out of it.
Yes, and remember, we budgeted a significant amount of fund balance at that time. We talked about that as we presented the budget, because there were so many unknowns at the time. And we definitely knew that our enterprise funds were going to be concerning. Right?
But it exceeded that 1.2 million is what you're saying?
Yes,
And this 800,000 is going to last till the end of the year, or how long does that last?
June 30th. So that projected out, it will take 800,000 to get to June 30th.
Okay.
Kelly, I'll just forward you the emails with any of the questions or comments.
Okay.
Okay, so we definitely are going to move that to action.
Okay.
Okay.
And so the next one is our federal, and these are just normal small moves within the federal programs. I'll certainly answer any questions you have on those, but there's nothing big or different there. And then finally, next to last is our capital outlay. And so if you'll go one more, Larry. This is where the state replaces our yellow school buses. And so once you buy a yellow school bus, the state replaces it when it gets so many miles or an age. And the state leases those vehicles. And so basically we just record those on our books. They send us the money, we make the payment. So it's a kind of a pass through here, and we're just recording the money that they're giving us to make the payment. That's all this is. Okay. And then finally, you've heard, I'm sure you've heard, it was back December and January, there were bonuses allocated to our Kids Plus staff and our pre-K staff. And so that came from some COVID funds that DHHS sent down to us. And so they sent us the funds and told us to pay it according to the statute, and we paid it. And so basically this is just a pass-through of those funds. Our employees received anywhere from, so our non-teaching staff received about $575. Our teaching staff received about $1,050. So that's what that was for. Any questions on that?
Any comments or questions? Hearing none. Okay. All right, board members, so we will place all of that on action for next week. And we will move to items under number 9, which is consideration for action. And we will start with 9.01. It's the Spectrum contract for internet services, and we'll have Mr. Dane Hughes.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm here to request approval for our contract to purchase our internet services for our schools for the next 3 years. We requested a bid back in November for internet services for all of our schools. We also requested an increase in our speeds from 1 gig at the elementary and middle school level, and we were currently at 2 gig at the high schools. We requested 10 gig across to all levels in the bid. This would meet our current data needs for learning, remote learning, and also our future needs for probably the next foreseeable future. Spectrum, who is our existing vendor, came in as the lowest bid. They came in at a cost of $700 per site per month. Our contract has been reviewed by the CFO and our board attorney, and we ask that you approve that. What questions or comments do you have?
Board members, I'm going to open it up for questions or comments, and I'll start with Ms. Blackwell.
I'm good.
Mr. Walter?
So what does $700 per site come out to?
I want to say the entire contract was $390,000
Per month?
per year. I think it's, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I think the entire contract was $390,000.
Okay. If you can get that to me, I appreciate it.
Certainly.
Ms. Carpenter?
And that was, and we got 3 different bids, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Carpenter Kia, please.
Oh, geez.
It's okay.
And we did get 3 different bids, correct?
Yes, ma'am, from
Okay.
Conterra, Windstream, and Spectrum.
Okay, and they're going to work on service, right?
Very, very much so. They've been a good partner. We've had them for the last 7 years, I think, and they've been a very good partner.
Okay, good.
Mr. Furr? I'm good. Ms. Adcock?
No questions.
Ms. Sandage?
I don't have any questions either.
Okay, thank you. So Dane, the only question I have is, there's a huge difference between Spectrum and Conterra. Do you have an idea of what that would be?
Windstream and Spectrum have infrastructure in this area. Conterra would have to build that out, so they would have to recoup those costs.
Okay, I really wanted you to acknowledge that, because people seeing this would go, my goodness, is that an apples to apples? Okay, that's a
Yes,
great
ma'am.
answer. Okay.
Madam Chair, I have one more question.
Sure.
So what are we paying now for the one, is it 1 megabit service?
Currently, we're paying for 1 gigabit at the middle and elementary school level, and we pay for 2 at the high school level right now. So we'll be moving everybody to 10 gig this summer.
So what are we paying per month for those?
Say that again?
What are we paying per month for that service?
That's the funny part. For 1 gig, we're currently paying $570 a month per site. And for 2 gig, we're paying $1,218 per month. So we have some significant savings and an extreme increase in speed.
Thank you for information.
Thank you.
That is exactly what we wanted to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, board members, Ms. Carpenter?
And so with this contract, then everybody would be on 10 gig, and it would be $700 for everybody. So that is
Per site, per month. Yes, ma'am.
good job. We do appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
All right, board members, thank you. We will move this to our action agenda for next week. If there's anything else for Mr. Hughes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, board members, and before we adjourn, I just wanted to take a minute to say welcome, since we did not do that in the beginning, to Mr. Schultz, and we appreciate having you here with us tonight and the good job you're already starting to do. You did, and your team did, the presentation for the capital improvement plan to the county commissioners at their retreat Saturday morning, and it went absolutely awesome. You did a great job, and we really appreciate it. But we would just like to say welcome, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Okay. Board members, anything else before we adjourn?
These books are for us to keep?
I'm sorry?
Are we to
Yes.
keep these?
Okay, with that, I will take a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Blackwell and a second by Mr. Furr. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. And with that, I will say good night to our viewing audience. Thank you for being with us, and we will see you next Monday, which will be Monday, March the 8th, for our business session. And good night.